And good evening, everybody. Welcome to the second night of Championship Week Video Notebook here at Hoops HD, the podcast where we come on and review and preview all conference tournament games, update our survival board, and talk any other relevant major news related to conference tournaments. I'm
Yeah,
Chad Sherwood. Joining me is both Lee Del Vecchio and David Griggs. Gentlemen, how are you tonight? Or gentlemen and puppets.
I'm doing pretty good. Can we start off with some news and notes?
Okay.
No,
Oh,
no, we can
No.
start. No, because I know where this goes. This goes to David Griggs giving a short 40-minute soliloquy on the Pac-12.
no, I had nothing. I was just wondering if we could start off with some news and notes. I didn't have anything in particular I wanted to talk about.
So you don't have any
Chad
news
said
and
it was
notes?
okay. So what do you got, Chad?
I have no
Well,
news and
we
notes.
want to know
You?
if we could.
Well, then why did you say we could start out with?
Well, going forward,
Come on,
we're
Chad.
going to be doing these for the next 2 weeks, David. I mean, actually, our original plan was to just be on the air nonstop until Selection Sunday.
I was in favor of that, but
And we just found out that people were not a big fan of sitting there watching us watch the games. They prefer to watch the games themselves. Although I think it'd be fascinating for
yeah.
24 consecutive hours of David Griggs watching college basketball.
Oh yeah, I think it would be great. The FCC would love it.
Well, we're not rebroadcasting the games. We're just going to show you watching the game.
Right? Yes.
We're not going to we're not going to be able to see the screen at all. But anyhow, what we wanted to get into tonight is review the games that did happen. We had a really exciting first night of conference tournament play. Let's start off in the Horizon League, where we had a pair of interesting games for different reasons. Detroit beat Youngstown State in a game that was pretty close throughout the entire game. Detroit probably pulled away with about 2 minutes left in the game. David, I'm sure you watched this one, so any thoughts
Yeah,
on it?
Youngstown actually had a lead for most of it, and it was kind of surprising because Detroit is a team I thought had kind of underachieved and didn't expect them to have a whole lot of trouble in this one, but Youngstown really took it to them, and for about 30 of the 40 minutes, it looked like they were going to win, but Detroit pulls it out. Again, Youngstown, their season ends. I mean, it's never a joyous occasion when your season ends, unless you really, really are miserable. But
And
yeah.
look, see the bracket. We can see the score at least.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to flip. I didn't think I would bracket, but here I'm just going to bring up the basics of the box score.
There's a base of the box score. The other game over in the horizon tonight was Wright State was dominating Illinois Chicago. They're up by about 25 points at one point, I think, in this game.
They were up by 8. Yes, it was something. I think they were up by about 63 points in this game. It was just this huge lead. You know, man, in front of. I mean, again, there were dozens of people at this game rammed into this big arena. I think they forgot to unlock the doors. There were so few people there for a conference tournament, but. Wright State blew a ridiculous, comfortable. It was at least 18. It may have been 25 at one point.
It was
lead.
19 at the half.
Yeah, it was 19 at the half. And good lord.
Yeah, at the end, UIC came all the way back and not only tied it, but actually ended up winning the game by 3 points.
In regulation.
In regulation, and just a look at this. Look at that second half score there, 40-18 UIC over Wright State. That is just a absolute class by Wright State. Their season is now over.
That is a long off season. That is,
Yeah.
I mean, Wright State, you shoot 54% and lose. I mean this is it will be hard for anybody to top this as a comeback. I'm interested to see when I know Ken Pomeroy does a great job with his blog about unlikeliest comebacks. I feel like in championship week this will be up there because this is now it helped that UIC was at home, but I mean, good God.
Right. Well, what we have now is UIC will be playing Oakland, while Detroit will be playing Cleveland State. All those games will be happening at Valparaiso, who's going to be hosting the next 2 rounds of the tournament. There's the bracket right there on Lee's screen. Probably 2 pair of meaningless games tonight. I expect Cleveland State and Oakland to both win coming up on Friday night.
Yeah, I do. I do as well. So again, like we say for the opening rounds, you get to play until someone beats you, and your reward is you get to play one more time. One more party, one more trip.
Your reward is you don't have to be Wright State in the off season. Just, I mean, God,
they've had a miserable. Sometimes, and you hate to think this way. I think we've all been in college athletics to where we've been around teams like this, if not in basketball and other sports. When you've had the kind of year that some of these teams have had that are in these opening rounds, is it almost a relief? Sometimes you think there's a sense of relief when it's over.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't. There, especially for those lower seeds. I mean, I can guarantee you the bottom two teams in the NEC who don't even make the postseason tournament. I'm pretty certain Central Connecticut feels some relief. The preseason pick to win the conference, who is one of the 5 worst teams in the country. There's relief there that they don't even have to get on a bus and drive to like Robert Morris out in Pittsburgh to get throttled.
Yeah, it's still emotional. I mean, I'm sure like. You know, the seniors are probably crying and all that, but there is a sense of, man, that was a rough year. I'm glad it's over. That sets in pretty quickly.
And
anyway.
with the year being over for Youngstown and Wright State, before we move on, something we'll touch on frequently during championship week is the elimination board. Chad, do you have an update for us on the elimination?
Not yet, because we got a few more games to discuss here, Lee.
You're
jumping the gun. You're not hosting. Calm down.
I thought we were starting with it. All right. Sorry.
Yeah. We got the schedule worked out here. You got to pay attention to it before we come on the air.
I am my own. I play with my own rules.
We want to talk about the other 2 conferences that did play tonight, and then we're going to show you the updated elimination board. Over in the Patriot League tonight, last night we told you that one of the game of the night was going to be the Army-Navy game, and it definitely, in terms of the game itself, lived up to it. Disappointing in the crowd that showed up for the game. Very disappointed in the crowd, actually. But
yes. In fact, this was during warm-ups. You know, there were seats available. You know,
it got better towards the end of the game. It really did. Yeah. I think people started showing up during the game.
Towards the end of the game, I think it was the entire lower bowl was full.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. This was after the game. So right after they get the tough win, I mean that's better. You know, not by much, but it's better. And you know, the students, the cadets came out in the tradition of singing second, which permeates throughout every Army-Navy game. It's not just a football thing. And the reason we looked forward to this game is we knew that. I mean, we'd hope for more people, but the atmosphere was still crazy. And the game was nip and tuck the whole way, and Navy was able to just pull it out by 4 at the end. This is a Navy team that started the season off giving Michigan State a really tough test, and now they go on to face Colgate. And I mean, personally, I think that you know Colgate will probably win that game, but I think Navy might give them a hell of a run. The more I think about this, last night I said they'd get blown out, but I don't know what it is. I'm trying to talk myself into a 7-2 upset here.
Yeah, but anyway, this was one of the more exciting games. The other one, Holy Cross, just I think that 17-point score is not anywhere close to indicative of how much Holy Cross just dominated this, which was kind of nice because there were so many games going on at once. It was one that you didn't really have to pay attention to. Loyola out, but this Army-Navy game, it really did come down to the final seconds. There were several missed free throws. You know, Army had a chance. They actually got a shot up at the end that would have that gave them a chance to tie it. But just a really exciting game. And again, you know, Navy gets to play one more.
Yeah, so. And you know, I mean, Holy Cross won at BU to end the season. Nice win. Now picks up this victory here. I think they're going to be dangerous for Bucknell coming up in the quarterfinals.
Yeah.
This is a team that started the season by beating Harvard. People forget about that. That was the very first weekend of the season.
I had forgotten about that, but so they did.
Yeah.
By the way, the official attendance 1271 for the Army-Navy game, and Navy overcomes going 15 of 27 at the line and 1 of 10 from 3 to advance.
So That's the Patriot League. One other conference that did have play tonight was the A-Sun, and for all the lousy crowds we did have in the Patriot League and the Horizon, I thought we had some great crowds tonight in the Atlantic Sun in all 4 games. Really,
We really did. This is a conference that does it right. We had this last year. We had court stormings in the quarterfinals last year, if you recall, with East Tennessee State winning. I don't think we had any of those tonight, but
sadly, my dream of a simultaneous storm is gone.
Yeah, well, last night I predicted a huge Kennesaw State over South Carolina upstate upset. I was just a little bit wrong, 90-54.
Kennesaw State missed like 20 of their first 21 shots. I mean, it was, and then it was just over. It was one of those, like I said, with so many other games that you just kind of turned over. I don't know. My thoughts. I was kind of impressed with North Florida. I mean, I realized that they did kind of run away from it. Stetson made it a little more.
Stetson hung in there most of the game. It was not the blowout you fully expected. They were kind of within striking distance. I think North Florida is going to have a tough test here coming up with Lipscomb, and obviously that was the game of the night in the conference, overtime win by Lipscomb there. Probably, really the game of the night at this point, I'd say.
Yeah, and it was cool. We alluded to it last night. It was great that Northern Kentucky got it. I mean, we understand why some folks might be against it, but I thought it was cool that they got to host a game. And it was a chance at the Bank of Kentucky Center. It was just a chance for the Northern Kentucky kids to maybe possibly dream of. They can't make the tournament, but maybe a conference championship in a conference in which they've shown they can compete. And it just didn't work out for them in the end. They played incredibly tough, but I mean at the same time they did lose to a team that finished in the same level with the same record basically they did in the A-Sun. They just had the tiebreaker. And this game was tight. I don't think there was more than a 4-point difference in this entire game. When I looked at the play-by-play just before we signed on, I mean this thing was absolutely close the whole way.
Yeah, now it wasn't in like the big. The name of their arena escapes me. It was in the smaller gymnasium.
Well, this was the old historic gymnasium. I was actually glad they played it there. It was a little bit throwback to their
Division II.
D2, yeah.
Yeah, when they used to in the crowd, it was a great atmosphere. It really was. The students were into it. The fans were into it. I mean, it really added a lot instead of playing in this cavernous 9,000-seat arena. But I think Northern Kentucky has happy days ahead. I realize this stings, and that's, again, we've been in those locker rooms. Whether you lose the first game of your conference tournament or you lose in the Elite Eight, the Final Four, it always hurts when it's all over. You always feel like had you just won one more, you would have been happy. But everybody's going to feel this way. Northern Kentucky, as a transitional program, especially this year, to go 7-7 in any Division I conference as a transitional program is really amazing. I think that next year's their final year of it. They're out of it. They're 16-17. They're eligible. I really think that their programs got happier days ahead. But the two favorites, Gulf Coast, North Florida, those two held serve. They didn't have too much trouble, either one of them. So
actually, Gulf Coast, surprisingly, Jacksonville made a couple of runs, and about midway through the second half, they pulled within 6 points before Gulf Coast pulled away. The last 5 minutes or so of the game, I don't think Jacksonville scored again. So I was kind of surprised that Gulf Coast was not as dominant over Jacksonville throughout the game as they were there. But
I guess when I saw it, they were. I was changing the station.
I think we've got a real good semifinal coming up there with that Gulf Coast Upstate game.
Oh yeah, we do.
With that, now we're going to turn to what Lee has been dying for, our tournament survival board.
Oh, this is incredible stuff.
I think we're going to put them up on David's screen. Are we going to do it that way?
Yeah, I believe that.
I pulled up. Is it on hoopshd.com?
Yes, it is. Why don't we do that? We'll have Lee pull it up for us.
And while I do that,
well, here it's right here. I got it. So,
all right. Well, David, let's focus it on David's screen. He's got it up there.
Okay.
Heading into tonight, we had 315 teams remaining.
Yeah, and again, Chad, why is this document so important? If you can just give everybody a chance to.
Yeah, because if you scroll down a little bit, you see some teams there are in bold. Those are the teams that are locks for the tournament. The NCAA Tournament Selection Committee actually uses our document to determine what teams are locks and what teams they should be considering.
Yes. So, and again, this is just a great resource for the selection committee. They can come on here and see, Butler and George. So that way, the committee knows who's in the tournament.
Right.
Yes, I mean, this is basically the from the mount. This
Yes.
is the sermon handed down to us from.
Yeah. So if somebody walks in the committee room and says, "Wow, I wonder if Georgia Tech should be in the field this year," they can look here and say, "No, we should not even be discussing them."
Right. I mean, it just simplifies everything. It's just that, and that is why this is such an important document. That's why we're going to be updating it every night. We're actually going to try and put in a phone call to, the chairman, Scott Barnes from Utah State. We're going to try and make that happen a little later. Just ask him to talk to us about the survival board.
Yeah,
so
we're going to work on that. But now, if we hit the refresh button here, we're going to see what happened with these games we discussed.
Yeah.
Given that Northern Kentucky was already eliminated because they weren't eligible, we did lose 7 teams tonight. So, drum roll, please.
Oh my God! This is what this is.
308.
Give it. This is like the freaking Labor Day telethon here.
Yeah, I mean, this is just incredible stuff.
I need the cheesy music playing.
We do need to get music for these drum rolls. We got to
Yeah, and again, looking at the Atlantic Sun, you see there's only 4 teams left. None of them are italicized or bold, so the committee knows that only the automatic bid winner will be getting in. So
yeah, and this, of course, available, folks, on hoopshd.com. We also invite you to follow us at hoopshd. David, we had a really great interaction on Twitter tonight, thanks to your, get off my lawn moment involving student chanting.
Yes, Navy, the "I believe that we will win" chant that we heard, too much from Utah State, too much from the World Cup. It's Navy's chant. They invented it. It was for the Army-Navy football game. I think it's great when Navy does it. Whenever anybody else does it, I think they're copying. But anyway, I tweeted as such, and the Naval Academy supporters very much favored the tweet. So
yes, they retweeted it, in fact. So
yeah.
Thanks to Navy Basketball. We appreciate their solidarity and obviously everything else they do that isn't basketball. That's a little more important in the grand scheme of things.
Well, what we want to do is we want to get on to our preview of tomorrow night's games, and I know, Lee, you've been really excited about this. So let's start with the Big South,
I hate you so much.
which actually kicks off with a noon and a 2:30 game. So we got a little afternoon conference tournament action tomorrow for the first time this season.
Conway again. It's one of the great. It's like, for me, it's like the Summit League in Sioux Falls. When it's March, it's time for the Big South to go to Conway. It's just, it's always
it
a really.
It should be on campus. It should be at campus sites.
Can we get the bracket up?
Get the bracket up, Lee.
I do.
No, all we see is Michael Jackson and Jim Boeheim.
Oh, I apologize to you. That will never get old, by the way.
Yes, I mean, please.
It is a great picture, but
it is a great picture, but we want the bracket. Actually, forget the bracket. Let's just look at this.
Here it is, the Big South tournament tomorrow. We have Presbyterian and Longwood in the 8-9 game.
What is the? Explain the logic of this to me. Why are you playing 3 afternoon games when there's only 3 games?
Because I believe they're playing the
because there's so much else to do
at the same time.
Yeah.
I was going to say, because there's so much else going on in Conway, South Carolina on a Wednesday night. But yeah, it's probably the women's tournament running.
They are playing the women's. In fact, we have these 3 games tomorrow. They'll then be off on Thursday and come back again on Friday for the quarterfiners.
That is the same format the MAC uses.
The conference here had a 7-way tie about 2 weeks ago for first place. It was amazingly bunched up. In the end, Charleston Southern got the top seed. High Point, who is the best team, got the 2, and the punishment of having to face the host team, Coastal Carolina, in the semifinals. But we got 2 teams playing tomorrow that were part of that tie, in Gardner-Webb and UNC Asheville.
Yeah, I mean, it's just really crazy. I mean, it's a shame that this conference isn't at campus sites. If you were watching Under the Radar all year long, we complained about it nonstop because of all the excitement and the storylines that were taken away from the regular season. When you have a 7-way tie for first place halfway through the year and home court advantage is on the line, it makes those games so much more intense. As a result, all that really matters is what color uniform you're wearing. I really think this league does itself a huge disservice by not being on campus sites. But anyway, Coastal Carolina, the host team, I think that's ultimately who's going to end up winning it. Asheville, Weber, Gardner-Webb, pretty good teams though.
Yeah, I'm going to go with High Point, even though they've got the toughest road, having to face Gardner-Webb, who is one of those 7 teams in their quarters, then Coastal, and then still have the championship game after that. But I mean, John Brown is an incredible player there at High Point, and I do really like this team. I think they'll be a dangerous team if they get into the NCAA tournament. They're going to give somebody a scare. Not necessarily going to win a game, but they're going to give whoever they play a scare, and that's why I'm going to go with them, even though they really have the toughest road of anybody in this conference tournament.
I am siding with David. I'm using the home court here. I'm picking Coastal Carolina.
Cliff Ellis, huh?
I love Cliff Ellis. One,
I do too.
Two. I like the home court, but it's interesting. Charleston Southern. I mean, are we shortchanging them? I look at them kind of as that. Not that they shouldn't get credit for a regular season conference championship, but things were so bunched up. Like, I mean, it feels like they got it more by default.
Well, they won the final game of the season at High Point and to capture it. So no, it was home against High Point, but
and they beat Ole Miss earlier in the year. I mean, Charleston Southern's not bad. I just think that Coastal, if they did it the way they were supposed to, and this was at campus sites, and Charleston Southern had 3 games at home or the whole tournament at home, I think they would win. I don't think it's fair. I just think the home court advantage gives Coastal the edge.
Well, the thing about the home court advantage for Coastal, they lost home games to Gardner-Webb, a home game to Winthrop. I mean, I thought they lost to Presbyterian at home, but that was on the road. But they didn't do a great job defending their home court. If they'd done it, they would have been the 1 seed here. So I think they're beatable. They're not going to have all the tickets also. Obviously, the tickets are going to be split up, and it's a tiny little court to begin with. So you're going to have about 500 fans in there for Coastal, because that's half the arena.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's still better than where they used to play in terms of a small gym. I mean, Coastal, I think I'm thinking of correctly. Or it might have been Winthrop, somebody who had an incredibly small gym.
It was Campbell. It was 800 people.
Well, you're thinking, and you might be thinking, well, Charleston Southern still only takes 800 people. They've got a tiny one there still.
And Coastal's is small. Asheville's is small. They're all really small.
Yeah.
All right. Yep.
And Lee, I know you're waiting for this. Also starting tomorrow night is the Ohio Valley tournament.
Great tournament here.
Great tournament. Now this is a pair. This is a ladder format tournament. These games tomorrow: Southeast Missouri against Moorhead, SIU Edwardsville against Eastern Illinois, are going to have zero effect on the rest of the bracket, in my opinion.
Yes, I agree. Yes.
Obviously, Murray State, the top seed, undefeated in conference, should win this tournament. Interesting semifinal against UT Martin. Martin gave them a real good game for the final game of the regular season, and could be a dangerous game for Murray in the semifinals, though.
Yeah, it could be. I don't know. Murray, they didn't close because I think that they don't do it as much as Iona, but Murray has a tendency to lose games that they have no business losing. Now, they got in the conference play and they did not do that this year, although they had some really close calls. Team that's not in the tournament, who was it that took them to the wall?
It was SEMO that took them to the wall, who could be the other team they could possibly fight if they don't play Martin. So.
Yeah, where'd the bracket go, Lee?
I just went with the standings here.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And there they are. The other semifinal is a potential Belmont Eastern Kentucky game, which, if we get that semifinal, I think will be a really good game.
Yeah.
It might not matter, but it could be a really good game.
Yeah, right. I agree. I'd be surprised if we don't get that game. I just think, I think Belmont and Eastern Kentucky are way better than Eastern Illinois or SIU Edwardsville. And I think that would be the game of this tournament because I don't know. Moorhead State, like we said, could be a real tough challenge for UT Martin. And plus, there's the interesting factor of the tournament's in Nashville, and Belmont. They can pack the place. So Belmont's and with their history, obviously a team to keep an eye on if you're looking for a lower seed.
Okay, so I got to throw this out there. Is Murray State inside the bubble? I don't think they are, but I don't think you all think they are, but are they?
No, they could be in the rankings all they want. They ain't in the bubble.
Okay.
No. I mean, I agree. They are not inside the bubble. I think they are better than some maybe the 10th or 11th team out, but the 10th or 11th team out isn't going to get up there, and Murray is not going to get the wins that a team in the ACC or the SEC can pick up the rest of the way. So
you're saying you don't value their top win of the year, which is against Illinois State?
I don't value any of their. In other words, I don't value a single win they had this year. Exactly.
Yeah, but they haven't lost in a while playing bad teams. That obviously should. Oh God, just move on to the tournament we all want before I.
Okay. Well, wait a minute. Let's get everybody's predictions because
I went with Murray State.
Okay.
I too went with Murray State.
I think it's going to be Eastern Kentucky.
Going with the upset.
Yeah, but I mean, you got to keep in mind what happened the last time these two played. EKU blew it. I think it's sold. I think they're going to come in looking for redemption, and Murray's going to overlook them. I think Eastern Kentucky gets it done.
Well, let's move on.
If beat Belmont in Nashville, they'll sure as hell have earned it.
Let's move on to the tournament we've been waiting for, and of course, I'm talking about the Northeast Conference.
Yeah, I love this one. Love this one.
This one I know is not your favorite of yours, Lee.
Normally it is. It's simple. I like that.
The top seed here, St. Francis Brooklyn, is in action tomorrow night, hosting LIU.
Oh, you're going to want to watch this
Battle of Brooklyn. Now the NEC has one televised quarterfinal game that's shown on MSG and picked up by Fox College Sports. For some reason, they went with the Bryant Sacred Heart game and not the Battle of Brooklyn.
I know why. Have you seen St. Francis's gym before?
Yes, that's why. Oh, that's beautiful.
That's why I wanted it broadcast. But St. Francis plays in probably the smallest gym in Division I. I mean, I
think there's one that's smaller.
It's Charleston Southern is smaller, but it's small.
Okay, it's 350 out of 351. It's like on the second floor of a building. It seats maybe 900, and that's that's violating all sorts of fire codes. The New York Times did actually a great piece on the season.
Oh, it's great.
And had a phenomenal photo gallery of just what a fire hazard they play in, because it's a small school, and it's a very tiny inner city style gym, and I don't know if they have the capability to do a broadcast. And I think really that might have been why, as much as
they have done it, and if they win, the semifinals will be broadcast, so they're going to have to find a way.
They're going to have to figure it out. Yeah. But this game could be awesome. I mean, St. Francis is a huge favorite, except for the fact that the schools can yell how much they hate each other without having to use a telephone. I mean, the atmosphere is going to be absolutely raucous.
They just played a real close game last week as well.
Yeah, they did.
Game on the other side of the street. Brooklyn took them to the wire. I know.
Yeah, in this
LIU Brooklyn.
Yeah, I am really, really looking forward to this one. I mean, I think it's the most exciting game of the night, at least for me. The rivalry, the storyline with St. Francis Brooklyn. I mean, never been to the NCAA tournament, a first place finish. You're going to want to watch this. I believe it's streamed on the conference website.
Yes,
we have all that information. And
it's literally just somebody holding like an iPhone. No, I'm kidding. I am picking St. Francis to win this tournament, but at the same time, I am more concerned about the game tomorrow than any other game they might have in this tournament.
Yes, I think Robert Morris, Wagner. I think they easily beat either of those teams. I don't see anybody at the bottom. The only team I think could knock them off, I think the second most dangerous team in this tournament is Bryant down there, the 3 seed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Bryant is a team that has shown they're absolutely capable of playing with bigger than NEC teams, and Bryant is a good sleeper team as well. But I mean, I just like the St. Francis story is awesome. They've had a tremendous year. I would be legitimately very disappointed. Like every year, there's that one team. Usually, it's a team where you're like, just win the conference tournament because I want to see you in the tournament, and I know you can't get in that large. St. Francis, New York isn't at that level of a team. They're not like a Stephen F. Austin the 5 years preceding last year. But they're not obviously not an at-large quality team, but for the story that it would be for this small school to make the tournament in that gym, I'm rooting so hard for them.
I am as well. It's not that I'm rooting against anyone else. I want this team to get in.
Just one thing to point out here, this is not actually the brackets. They reseed for the semifinals, so it's not 1-8 playing 2-7. They will reseed the highest if SFNY wins, they'll play whatever the lowest seed is that wins on the quarterfinals in their semi.
Yeah.
So otherwise, it'd be just a
also
stupid
a
bracket.
tournament that realizes, normally I'm against this, but they were smart enough this year to go, Fairleigh Dickinson and CCSU, why don't you guys just, get a head start on recruiting, head out there. I put the Northeast standings on the screen for a reason. I mean, two teams that were 5 games clear of making the tournament. These two teams go out of the NEC tournament in January.
Yes, CCSU was the very first team knocked off of our survival board that was postseason eligible. So,
and again, they were the preseason pick to win the league. Outstanding judgment by the coaches. Yes, I know they lost Kyle Vanalis, but holy crap. And by the way, CCSU, they played basically the whole year with only 7 players. And sources close to Lee Del Vecchio have indicated that the head coach, Howie Dickinson, will be retiring after this year. So expect that, and that's not really a forced thing, expect CCSU to be one of the first teams in the market for a coach.
Yeah.
Because boy, they got a head start.
Let's move on to the conference we really have all been waiting for here, and that's the America East.
Chad, we're out of time.
We're out of time? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then, thank everybody for. Okay. Now, I want to discuss a couple of these games tomorrow, starting with the big Albany versus Maine game. I also want to talk a little bit about the Vermont UMBC game and the Stony Brook Binghamton game. At least let's talk about those 3 before we get out of here.
I know what you're doing. I know what you're doing. It's not funny.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this point, David and I are both going to go out, hit the bars, have a few drinks. We'll be back in about 45 minutes. We're going to turn everything over to Lee Del Vecchio for the next 45 minutes. Lee, we know what you want to talk about. Go for it.
Ladies and gentlemen, tomorrow night at Lundholm Gymnasium in Durham, New Hampshire, one of the great events of our lifetime will occur. And I want to thank this was Chad Sherwood. Chad, you had this one last night. I haven't researched it, but based on the history of the home team, I have no reason to doubt it. The first postseason Division I men's basketball tournament game ever played in the state of New Hampshire, as the New Hampshire Wildcats host the Hartford Hawks. Hartford was the preseason pick in the conference, a disappointing regular season. And now they are doing something that nobody on planet Earth would have predicted anybody would have to do: play a postseason game at the University of New Hampshire, the school with the 6th worst winning percentage all time. All time. They're not in the SWAC or the MEAC. This is their head coach in his 11th season, because, when you're finishing 10 under 500, you just need time. You need patience. And Bill Harrion has a very patient athletic director. And in year 11, amazing season. I believe they're 18-10. I have picked UNH to win this conference tournament. This year,
wow.
Completely on campus. I think it's a fabulous story. UNH being non-horrendous at basketball is one of my 3 most shocking results of the season. They almost won at Rutgers this year, 18-11. I would be surprised if they didn't make the CIT at this point. I think postseason basketball beyond the conference tournament will involve the New Hampshire Wildcats, and I'm not entirely prepared to live in a world where that's true.
So who are you rooting for?
Yes, and this will be the first ever. New Hampshire's never made any postseason tournament. This will be the very first, obviously.
And in all seriousness, the reason why I'm picking them, besides the story, is the fact that Albany is the team that won the regular season title. They played them close twice. They played Vermont close once. The end of the season game against Vermont did not go well. That is a very heated rivalry, though. Weird things happen. And so New Hampshire has shown throughout the season that they can actually compete with the top teams in America East. They very much have earned the right to host this game.
And this conference does reseed as well for the semifinals, just as a note here. If there are any upsets, New Hampshire may be able to avoid Albany until the finals.
Yeah, I mean, look, if Maine might be the worst. I know you don't think they're the Centenary Award winner, but I'm telling you, they're in the discussion. If Albany loses to Maine, they should be on a postseason ban for the next 5 years. There is no way that Albany will lose to Maine. I can't believe you even suggested.
No. The upside I was talking about was I think Binghamton has a shot at Stony Brook, and if that happens, then Albany will get Binghamton, and New Hampshire would get Vermont in the semifinals.
Okay, that's
where I was going.
And this is a Binghamton program that, and David, you know about this. I mean, you want to talk about coming out of the woods. It finally seems like there's some signs of life around this Binghamton program, which was, really went all out and not completely by the book to make an NCAA tournament a few years ago. Yeah. And then NCAA came down hard. We're talking like 4 or 5 win type team for a few years, but they seem to be.
Yeah, I still think they should have won the Centenary the year Towson won it. I do not agree with the decision. It was not a unanimous decision, but
it was that America East play-in game.
Yes.
I was there.
It was.
We had Lee there in person to.
Yes.
That's like my chip on the table. Anybody who thinks they love college basketball, you got to really love college basketball to go to that game. I did, and it was everything I hoped it could be and less. It was a dreadful bet. By the way, that was part of a doubleheader in which in the second game, Hartford beat Maine in the 4-5 game. It was Hartford hosted the tournament.
It was the 8-9 game, wasn't it?
Yes, it was the 8-9 game. Hartford was hosting the whole conference tournament besides the final. That awful format they just ditched for this year. Hartford won the 8-9 game, and the students stormed the court.
Yep.
What an evening it was!
Let's go to picks here for the America East tournament. Lee, you're going with New Hampshire already. You've told us that.
Yes. For the reason that they played Albany very close. Plus, I am a sap.
My pick is, I agree with you, Albany's not going to win. I'm going with this Vermont team. They are so difficult to beat at home, and if Albany gets knocked off by New Hampshire in the semifinals, Vermont, I don't think New Hampshire can win at Vermont. I'll put it that way.
No, I agree. Well, I mean, this past weekend would totally justify that. I mean, they got their doors blown off. I also, David, before we go to you, I mean, is anybody going to say a word for Stony Brook here? This is a program that's been the class of the conference the last few years. They got the 3 seed. I mean, are they a team to keep an eye on here, or is there a clear stratification between Albany, UVM, and everyone else?
I think Albany kind of sprinted ahead of everyone else. That's who I'm going with. Just kind of going with the chalk here because they have the home court advantage, and they don't have a bye, but as Lee explained, it's a virtual bye. They're playing Maine.
Now, I would like to – now, the elimination board, you bolded New Hampshire, correct? Because
we did not.
I mean, lock. Absolute lock. University of New Hampshire. The interesting thing about this game, too, is that it's tomorrow night, obviously, and it's the Hockey East playoffs start this weekend, and hockey has always been there's a million reasons why UNH basketball sucks, most of them obvious, but one is that the athletic department only cares about the hockey program. Well, their playoff series with UConn doesn't start till Friday. So tomorrow night, I would be shocked if the tiny Lindholm Gymnasium is not packed. I mean, packing that thing doesn't take much, but I really am interested to see if there's any sort of buzz around this program.
I think there will be. So.
I would hope so. But anyway, yes, this it's the game America wants, even if it doesn't know it yet. I mean, UNH Hartford, it's on ESPN3, folks. It's worth your time.
I know we talked about this before. I hope I'm guessing who Zach's team is.
Well, I'll tell you what, David. I've been reconsidering what team I was going to sign. Why don't I just toss it over to you? Why don't you give Zach? Why don't you just go ahead and give Lee his team here?
First, give the explanation to first-time viewers of what this is.
Chad, explain what this is.
Yeah, well, we did this last year also. We go to our survival board and pick a lose and you're screwed team, a team that must win its conference tournament in order to get into the field. And we assign it to each other, and the other person is required to root for this team until they do lose or until they make the field. Neither of our teams even came close last year. I have some pretty good picks. My concern is that my original picks were both teams that are playing tomorrow night, and that's not long enough. So I've been trying to reconsider here. But David, if you have another idea for Lee, why don't you go ahead and give it to him?
Well, I was thinking New Hampshire since
that's why I was going to give him
absolutely ballistic.
Well, it's kind of already started. I figured you would give me Hartford just which is who I would root for every other game ever played. because I've been to a lot of their games. Tomorrow night's going to be very weird for me. Okay.
I just can't wait to get.
Well, maybe if they lose, we could reassign them to another team because.
Yeah.
But okay.
So it has to be a team that's playing tomorrow.
No, it can be. The only requirement is that they are not bold or italics on the survival board. Anybody.
Okay. Well, I already know who I'm giving Chad.
So Lee, your team is New Hampshire. David, I'm giving you a team here. Even a better story than New Hampshire if they make the field. There are only 2 states in the entire country that have never put a team in the NCAA tournament. One is Alaska. The other is Maine. And there is your team, the Black Bears.
Oh,
God. Let's go Bears. Let's get it up here. Okay, here we go. Okay, so I've got Maine.
So you guys go ahead and assign me my team. I don't know which one of you wants to.
I mean, I think for me this is.
I think I got Chad's team here. I just got to get. Well,
the team that can only. Oh, they got to be in normal text.
Yeah, you cannot give me Kansas State. We discussed that already. I was going to give you Kansas State, but David nixed me on it. So.
Okay, yeah.
Chad, I was going to give you UConn, but you put them in italics. That would have been awesome.
Okay, Chad. I've thought long and hard about this. I really don't like Chad. I want to give him a team that I know he's going to hate to root for. So I was hesitant to do this, and it's like, is this going to kill the mood? Whatever. But this is a team that desperately needs someone supporting them. We haven't talked much about them. We did talk about them a few weeks back because of what's going on there. The president of the university, if you haven't seen the news today, is suing the school for placing him on leave, which is probably not the best approach to take for a campus that's in danger of being shut down altogether due to financial hardships.
That's not my team, David. I got Monmouth. I'm right here. I chose already.
No, but that's not how it works.
What? No, come on. By the way, tremendous catch to get the T-shirt. By the way, 2 of the 3 members of Luke's HD podcast have caught T-shirts at Northeast Conference games this year. Oh, I'm sorry, they're in the MAC now.
They're the MAC. No, I'm sorry,
the Sacred Heart one. Yeah. You got a Monmouth one.
David, go ahead, please.
Okay, so here we go.
This is a really important story, though.
Yeah, this actually is. So the team that Chad is getting is the South Carolina State.
South Carolina State, the Bulldogs. This is a team that, in the MEAC, if they lose in the MEAC tournament, there is a slim possibility, probably not going to happen, but this may be the last game they ever play in Division I.
Well, at least for 2 years. Or in D1, yeah.
In D1, because it's going to take them years to get reaccredited, and they're going to have to get readmitted back into the NCAA. So, yeah, you know, it would be a feel-good story if they could make a run here. They actually lost their final regular season home game. They got kind of their butts kicked over the weekend in the last regular season home game.
Yeah, strange things happened during the MEAC tournament. Again, I think it would be a great story. I think it would bring a lot of attention to something that not many people are probably aware of. I feel for those players and coaches. I feel for every single student there. I can't say I feel for the president or his leadership, but the kids that are there, I mean, sometimes, I don't know. I don't want to overstate I don't want to overstate the importance of sports because it really is just a game. But sometimes it is more than that. This could serve as a huge rallying cry for a school that really needs something to feel good about.
Can I submit a couple of possible alternatives as Chad's team very quickly?
Yes, sure.
One of them is in the exact same vein. It is in the Western Athletic Conference, UT Pan American.
Well, this will be their very last game when they lose.
Yeah.
As UT Pan American, they will be UT Rio Grande Valley going forward because UT Pan American is merging with UT Brownsville. They will be I forget what the nickname is, but it's something stupid.
The Vaqueros or something like that.
The Vaqueros of Utah. So I would like to give that as a possible alternative for Chad. And I mean, the other one I was thinking is San Jose State because.
But that doesn't count. They are not even on the list anymore. They're on the APR list, so they cannot.
Oh no! You know what? That's probably the best for them. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, my selection would have been UT Pan American. But I mean, South Carolina State might not be an existing thing.
Well,
So
I'll tell you. I'll tell you what, Lee. After Maine loses tomorrow night, we'll assign UTPA to David going forward. How's that?
oh, I like that. I like God.
Yeah.
That's still a less damning existence than making him root for Maine. Oh my God. They are so bad. And by the way, Maine doesn't play on campus. So when you wonder how they got this bad at basketball, it's just an intentional lack of any institutional support.
I've got Black Bears fever. So.
Well, David needs to go to a doctor because he has Black Bears fever. And I think on that note, we are going to call it a night here. I want to thank everybody for joining us. We'll be back again every night until there's a selection committee that releases the bracket. And again, selection committee, go to our website. You've got all the information there. We'll talk to you all again real soon.